Alright guys, hello and welcome to this little tutorial on how to use Smart BCC with Pipedrive. So basically the first thing is I'll give you a little overview of how Smart BCC works. Essentially Smart BCC was designed for you to be able to send emails to and from Pipedrive using a specific Smart BCC address. You can find this Smart BCC address in two places. The first would be going to Settings, Personal Email Integration. And then if you scroll down, you'll see this is your universal Smart BCC address. So what this means is you can send emails to your Pipedrive inbox using this by putting this BCC address in a line that Pipedrive recognizes from an email address that Pipedrive recognizes. So by default, Pipedrive will recognize the email address that you use to sign in. So right here, mine is stevenparado@pipedrive.com. So that's my default email address that Pipedrive will always recognize, and all of your users Pipedrive will recognize their default email address. If you wanted to add a different email address, so maybe you send from stevenparado@google.com, then you would go down here and you would add it as an alternative email. When you add an alternative email address, what you're saying to Pipedrive is recognize this email address as associated with my account. So you're saying, okay, if I send an email with my Smart BCC link from this email address that I've added as my alternative email address, Pipedrive, please recognize this and please add it to my inbox. Maybe you don't have to be as polite and say please, but that's essentially what you're saying. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually use the Smart BCC. There's two ways to use the Smart BCC. You can use the deal specific, and then you can use the universal. I mentioned the universal earlier. This is the one where you just want it sent to your inbox. And the Smart BCC for deal specific will go to specific deals, right? So if you wanted to link an email with a specific deal you're working on, you would use the deal specific. Okay, so first we'll do universal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, open up one of my deals. So we'll check this guy out. So here we are, all right? So this Diginism LLC deal. So here we are. We want to send an email to this guy. He's a really cool dude. So we're going to scroll down. We're going to find our deal specific or universal. So we're going to start with universal. So we grab this, we copy it. What a lot of people will do is they'll make a tag in their email for this universal address. And basically, you just type in a few letters and then the universal address will pop up. So you don't have to keep going back and forth, copying and pasting. And if you have your mail to link set up, looks like this guy actually doesn't have an email address associated with him, so that's not going to work. So, if you have an email associated with them, you can actually just click the email. Pipedrive will launch your default mail client. So this is involved with your mail to link. So if your mail to links are set up to Google, it will go to Google. If your mail to links are set up to Yahoo, it will go to Yahoo. So where it gets a little tricky is depending on what browser you use, that will dictate where you change the mail to link. For instance, if you use Google, you often have to change the mail to link in the Google browser. So this is unrelated to Pipedrive. It has to do with your browser or your configuration on your computer. So for us, I don't have it configured, so whatever, we can ignore that. But basically, if you wanted to go to Google, you would go to your MacBook settings and adjust this mail to link to Google. All right, so here we are. We copied our link, copy our universal BCC address. Now we're going to our inbox. We're going to send an email to myself. And then here's an important thing. Make sure you put it in the BCC line. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it will prevent, when users respond, they might get this weird email saying, Pipedrive doesn't recognize the email address. And basically what that's saying is they're using the BCC address with an unrecognized email. And it's not, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but your client will get some random email from some company named Pipedrive, and I don't know, they might think it's a little sketchy. So let's call this test universal. We are testing the universal link. So now we can send this guy over. And now since we use the universal link, this should show up in our mailbox. Another important thing, guys, is you notice when I sent this email, I did not put any more than one email address in the to field. Currently, we do not recognize multiple email addresses, so you can't send bulk emails. You can technically, but it's going to cause a lot of errors and a lot of disruptions in your mailbox, right? So things won't link the way you want them to link. Okay, so we sent this to email universally. We go ahead, we check our mailbox. So here's our test universal. It looks like it's stuck. So if we had an open deal with this email address, so the stevenprado@pipedrive.com, it would automatically link to that open deal if we had one open deal with that stevenprado@pipedrive.com. If we had multiple open deals, what happens is it will go to your mailbox and then it will give you the option to connect it with a deal, right? So you would see a couple deals over here and you could connect it. So for instance, I want to connect it with the Steven Prado deal. So there you go. So I just searched Steven Prado and boom, it's connected. So now when I click in here, I can see it. So let's refresh. So I can see it connected to the Steven Prado deal. So now we're saying, you know, I don't want to do that. I want to skip everything and I want to go straight to the deal. I don't want to have to worry about connecting to the mailbox. So in this case, what we do is we'd use the deal specific address. When you click on the email address within a deal detail page, so you see this Steven Prado deal, and you see all these like this value. This is how you can tell you're on the deal detail page, is this value. And then finally in the URL bar, you'll see deal appear. So when you click on this, when you click on an email address in the deal detail view, you will be automatically prompted to your email if your mail to links are set up properly with the deal specific BCC address. So there we go. We're going to grab the deal specific BCC address. So now we're going to go over here. We're going to send it to Steven Prado again. The BCC line we're going to fill in with the deal specific. You could tell it's deal specific because you see that plus deal 5273 at Pipedrive Mail. Testing deal specific. All right. So now we're going to send it over. Now we're going to go check out our inbox, refresh the page. So, okay, so we could check out our inbox as well, but it's irrelevant this time. So now since I use that deal specific address, you'll see it automatically links to the Steven Prado deal. So we click here and boom, there's our deal specific address. So this is important. The reason why I made this video is because we kind of saw like pretty often people were running into some issues with this. Some things to avoid and know, not to do, and some common problems would be the alternative email. So if you're using some strange, I shouldn't say strange, but if you're using a more unique emailing client, not everybody just uses Google or Outlook or something like that, you need to make sure the email address that you're sending from is either your default email address or it's set as an alternative email address. This happens quite a bit where customers will use, some interesting emailing client that sends from, a wide range of aliases. And basically what happens is they're sending their emails, they're not getting received, they don't know why they're not getting received, and most often it's because they're sending from some alias that isn't the email address that they log into. In this case, all you'd have to do is set it as an alternative email address. Okay, Pipedrive now recognizes it, and you're good to go. The other thing that happens a lot is users will forward threads to Pipedrive. So, for instance, say you had an email with a customer like this Maple Kitchen. We had a really great conversation, and now I want to forward it to Pipedrive, so I can store it with the contact. So here we go. We forward it. Grab the Smart BCC address. Let's put in the BCC field because we don't want to be wrong when we're giving a video on how to do this properly. Okay, so we send it on over. So this is fine, right? This will work. This is great. Where you run into problems is when you have things like, the email was forwarded from Kathy, who forwarded it to John, who forwarded it to Jeff, who forwarded it to you, and then you forwarded it to Pipedrive, right? Because you see how you get these threads. So these threads won't come apart. So if you have, some bulk email where you email 10 people at once, and then all of a sudden you forward it to Pipedrive, and you're sitting here saying, why aren't these all updating? Why do I have this just giant thread of emails? It's because Pipedrive will only take this last email, right? So it's only taking this menu at Maple. It's forgetting everything else. Yeah, and then basically, other than bulk emailing, so you can only send one email at a time. We are making major improvements to our mail feature in the future. But right now, sending bulk emails will generally run you into problem. We highly recommend that you use our integration partner, Mailchimp, or perhaps Yesware, or any one of our email marketing integration partners for the time being. Thanks guys for checking out the Smart BCC video.